Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 13 of What If Deku Date Momo Yaoyorozu? If you notice some errors or some missing parts in the video, please tell me in the comment down below. Hope you'll enjoy the video. Knock knock knock. Momo turned to her hospital room door to see Inko walk through with a tray of food. The teen immediately tensed up, afraid the mother of her boyfriend might hysterically come after her again. Inko saw Momo's posture and nervously chuckled. I've calmed down now. I'm terribly sorry about earlier. I guess I just wasn't as ready for my Izuku to have a girlfriend as I thought. Momo relaxed, it's quite alright. I did essentially intrude suddenly into your life. What? No. I couldn't be happier that you're with Izuku. Here I brought you some food. Izuku told me you bring things with healthy fats in them, so I hope salmon is okay. Momo blushed and smiled at Izuku's caring attitude. Of course he would say that. Salmon is perfect. Thank you. She took the tray and set it down into her lap and began to eat. Inko sat down on the edge of the bed. Again, I'm sorry for my behavior. It was highly uncalled for. Momo waved her hands and swallowed the food she had in her mouth. No, please. It's all right. I'm sorry for the surprise. It's not exactly ideal to find your son in bed with a girl, especially one where their relationship just started. Inko laughed, well, I guess I just didn't expect Izuku of all people to take that step in a relationship so fast. Actually, I guess I should be happy that he's so comfortable and joyful. Momo looked to Inko questioningly, what do you mean? Inko suddenly looked saddened and looked down to lap, fiddling with her hands. Well, you see, I'm not sure if he's told you, but Izuku didn't have the best childhood. He doesn't like to talk about. Even I don't know everything. He was very closed off at home. He still believes that I'm in the dark about everything, and truth be told that's mostly true. He would never tell me what was wrong or what was happening outside of home, no matter how much I pushed and pried for answers. I even went to his school, but they just brushed me aside. I tried other parents, but most of them didn't even know who Izuku was. I read through his journals when he wasn't home to see if he ever wrote anything down, but it was all just hero information. All I could get was that bullying was going on, and that was by my own deduction. At this point, tears began running down Inko's face. Momo sat up and rubbed the mother's arm, listening intently. I knew the kids picked on him when they were little, but Izuku led me to believe it all stopped shortly after it started. But then I would notice my makeup was running out much faster than usual. Izuku would almost never leave the house when he didn't need to. He never spoke about having any friends. I would repeatedly get bills from his school saying that he ordered multiple new uniforms. He started doing his own laundry too. I went outside to our apartment complex's dumpster one night and I found some of his uniforms tattered and ripped and burned. I tried to bring it up to him, or the school, or other parents, but all I got was lies. Momo knew it was bad, but she had no idea it was this bad. She knew Izuku was far too vague about the topic back at that restaurant. Just when she started to somewhat calm her anger towards Bakugo, the fires of hatred came back thousands of times stronger. I tried to pull him out of the school, maybe move somewhere else. But we didn't have the money to do that at the time, and I knew Izuku would just be more devastated. UA was in MizuToriFFN, so that meant Izuku wanted to be there. I already destroyed his dream once, I just couldn't do it again. I even went so far as the police, but they felt that a quirkless boy wasn't important enough compared to the rest of their cases. Inko spoke that last sentence through grit teeth, clearly still furious about it. The little boy I knew that ran around in his all-might honesty with an even bigger smile than his favorite hero slowly vanished. He still smiled, but there was something vacant in them. I could see how tired he was. He genuinely smiled so little that I treasured each and every day that he gave one. I wondered how Izuku became so thin and small when I cooked so much. But then I realized he was hardly eating. There were some nights when he wouldn't be home at his regular time, or I wouldn't hear from him all day, or he wouldn't leave his room, and I wouldn't hear any noise coming from him. Those were nights where I was the most terrified. Those were nights where I was afraid Izuku wasn't coming home. Those were nights where I almost didn't open his door to check on him. Because I was afraid of what I'd find. Momo didn't know what to say. Her mouth wouldn't move. She was so furious at Izuku's school, his bullies, of course Bakugo, and at the world in general. All of this, just because someone was born quirkless. But Momo was also terrified. She was scared of what Inko was implying. Does she think that Izuku could have possibly been no? It can't be. No matter how hard she tried, Momo couldn't exactly say it wouldn't make sense. Most people with Izuku's past would likely already have decided to check out of the hotel called life. She already thought Izuku's past was terrible, but now it was far worse than she ever even thought. But look at me, jumping to conclusions. So sorry to get a little morbid there. That's just my worried mother mind. I always think of the worst outcome, I just get so worried for Izuku. Inko was trying to wipe away her tears and wobbly smile, but Momo could see she was just trying to blind herself to what she knew was likely true. Inko was a strong woman, but this definitely wasn't something her heart could handle. I don't want you to think I'm pressuring you into this relationship. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. I just thought you should know this if you really love my son. And I'm just so thankful that he has you now. Especially such a beautiful and intelligent one. Now he smiles so much. He's just so happy now that he has you. He's been like that for months. I'm so happy he has you and Tashi to make up for all my failures. Inko took Momo into a hug. Thank you. Momo hugged her back, you didn't fail. If you did, Izuku wouldn't be the amazing person I fell for. Without you, I wouldn't have him. So I should be thanking you. Inko laughed shakily, oh wow, Izuku really knows how to pick him. Momo laughed alongside her. Thank you. Oh, and I know my Izuku doesn't have a dirty mind. But please don't tell me he did it for your breasts. Momo flushed in embarrassment, no. No, of course not. Izuku was one of the only boys in class to not look at my body all the time. I can tell, he loves me for me. And I for him. He looks now though, right? He tries not to, but yes. That's my boy. Inko said sarcastically. As far as I'm concerned, welcome to the family. Thank you Ms. Midoriya, Inko, sweetheart. You can call me Inko. Momo smiled, okay, Inko. Or Mom. Let's wait on that one. Yes, of course. Momo was happy to have been officially accepted by Inko, but her stomach still held a massive pit in it. Confidence and self-esteem might be an issue for her, but Momo had no idea how to handle the realm of a depressed individual. Izuku clearly wasn't the same person he used to be. She felt that all his smiles were genuine, and he was truly happy to be here. In the past, however, Momo was blind about it until now. She didn't want to scare Izuku away so fast into their relationship. She knew he wouldn't actually leave, but he might lock his doors and hide his feelings. This was something that, if true, he needed to tell himself. She couldn't force it out of him. Besides, Inko said she was jumping to conclusions, and Izuku has mentioned before that his mother worried about things far too much. So, there's a good chance that her concern didn't need to reach Defcon 1 hopefully. Momo had to take her phone away from her ear at the high-pitched girlish squeal. She was on her way over to Izuku's room for his X-ray results when she decided to make this call. Momo would expect such a reaction about her relationship status from Mina or Toru, but definitely not Edgeshot. I knew it. I told you, and you just kept denying it over and over again. Oh, I'm just so proud. I didn't think it really mattered to you all that much, sensei. She didn't actually call to tell him this. She had seen he called multiple times today. The news of the day before yesterday probably reached him finally. Momo meant to just tell him she was alright, but it had evolved into this. Are you kidding me? I've spent multiple nights worrying myself to death that you wouldn't ever accept your feelings. Momo lifted an eyebrow. What happened to the calm and quippy hero she knew before? Now he was acting like a schoolgirl who loved drama and gossip, so essentially Mina. Sensei, you don't get out much, do you? Nope. Now enough about my personal life, give me details. You guys kiss yet? Yes. Momo took her phone away from her ear again. Alright, calm down. I have to go, said boyfriend is getting his x-rays done. I'll talk to you later. Momo ended the call and entered Izuku's hospital room. She saw him sitting on his bed with a very tired-looking doctor standing next to it. The doctor probably hasn't gotten very much sleep with how hectic the hospital has been. She still had that feeling in the back of her mind from her earlier conversation with Inko. Toshinori and Inko were in the chairs next to Izuku's bed, but there were no more chairs to sit in. The doctor saw this and lazily waved to the bed. Go ahead and sit down next to him, you already claimed the spot when you slept here. You saw us. Kid, this is a hospital. We check on our patients all the time. Of course we saw you. Momo blushed as Toshinori just chuckled in his seat. Inko nudged him to stop, but she couldn't stop her smirk either. Momo sat down to the right of Izuku, and the doctor pulled up the X-ray results on his computer. Alright, your arm's fine. Bones are fully healed thanks to the healing quirks here, but there's something else. Everyone perked up at this sudden announcement. To be honest, it's not really a problem right now, but it could potentially be in the future. You see, bones and muscles can heal and become stronger. However, the doctor pulled up another picture of Izuku's arms, but zoomed in on his elbow. Ligaments are a whole nother story. They're meant to preserve joint integrity, and yours seem to be on a decline. Like I said, at the moment it's not too troubling. And it's mostly in your right arm. But if you break your arms like you did a few days ago 1 or 2 more times, then the deterioration of the ligaments could start to seriously increase. It could possibly even mean rehab. Izuku looked down to his arms and tried to bend them. They still worked normally, but they were definitely stiff. And if you do reach the point where the deterioration becomes a serious issue, then breaking your arms after that will be devastating. Once again, it's not too serious at the moment. But if you make this a trend, you could lose the use in your arms permanently. Everyone's stomach dropped after that. Permanent loss of use in his arms would be terrible. Izuku didn't know what to say. Luckily All Might chimed in for him. Thank you, doctor. We're glad this problem was caught before it got serious. Is there any way to help his arms? Really, just don't break them. They'll heal slowly. Maybe not fully, but they'll get better. Oh, and I'm not going to, but recovery girl told me to hit you in the head with something. Apparently she's getting sick of these types of injuries on you. She also told me that I should ask if you're okay with some more scars. Izuku lifted up his eyebrow in confusion. The doctor then began to unravel his bandages for everyone to see. Lashing scars run across Izuku's arms. One scar ran from the middle of his bicep to the back of his right arm. There were 2 scars on his right forearm. One directly on the side, and the other running across the top of his forearm to almost his elbow. There were smaller ones scattered across his limb, and a large smooth scarred patch under his shoulder on the side of his arm. Yeah. Some of these scars are from whatever you did to break them in the first place. But some of them, like that pick scar patch, is from something we're not sure about. It was almost like something exploded out of your arm. Izuku sighed inwardly. It was Black Whip. Using Black Whip while his arm was in the condition it was in at the time must have blew away some skin. Izuku used to not really like his scars. They were ugly to him at first, and of course they were the result of him not being able to control his quirk. But now he actually felt a little proud of them. His hand scars were from the festival. He got those scars not only helping Todoroki, but he was keeping his promises to Momo on the day they actually spoke to one another for the first time. And to think that's what sparked what their relationship was today. The new scars were earned from saving Kota and later on saving Momo. He would never regret any of those things. So now, these scars were just like the name Deku. They were reminders of how far he's come. If scars were the price to get where he was now. Momo took his hand in hers and softly rubbed her thumb along his hand scars. Then he'd get 1,000,000 more. It's okay. I got these scars saving somebody. They're worth it. The doctor raised his brows up. That's the spirit kid. Speaking of which, this came for you too today. The doctor pulled out a folded sheet of paper from his breast pocket. Little kid with a red hat found me. Told me to give it to you. Kota. Izuku slowly took it in his hands. Healing starts with the mind. This should be a good first step. The doctor gathered his things and left the room. Izuku looked down at the letter again and then to Momo. They opened it up. Dear Midoriya and Yaoyorozu, I'm sorry for punching you in the junk, Midoriya. And I'm sorry I looked into the girls' springs on accident, Yaoyorozu. Thank you for saving me even though you didn't know me. Please get better soon so I can thank you both in person. Sincerely, Kota. PS. If you two wouldn't mind, when we meet again could you not kiss in front of me like that again? It was a little uncomfortable. Both teens blushed at that last message, but the message was still sent across. The letter meant a lot to both, but even more to Izuku. After 16 years, after living 15 of them quirkless, after everything, he actually had a fan letter. Someone actually was thanking him for his actions, not that he wanted thanks or praise. For the first time, Izuku truly felt like a real hero. A wobbly smile dawned his face. Everyone saw this and realized this was a significant moment for Izuku. Toshinori stood up and ruffled Izuku's hair. You take some time to yourselves. You both did amazing. You're both true heroes. Midoriya, my boy, I'll be back soon to take you to the station. Inko stood up with Toshinori and kissed both teenagers on the forehead. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. The adults then left the room for Izuku to compose himself. Are you alright, Izuku? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm great actually. What did he mean about the police station? Oh. Yeah, the police think that Spinner will tell them where their hideout is if I talk to him. They said if I can convince him that Shigaraki really did tell me that Stain doesn't work for him, then he'll talk. Momo seemed a little unsure. I guess the logic is there. Back at camp he refused to attack us. He called us true heroes like Stain always preached. Just be careful, okay? Izuku nodded, I will. But, you said he called you a true hero too. And you were there when Shigaraki told me all of that. So maybe you should come too. It might help having us both there. That sounds good to me. Besides, I can keep an eye on you. Izuku rubbed the back of his neck, I don't get into trouble that much. Momo raised her brow at him. Okay, that's fair. The couple laughed at Izuku's admission. Momo leaned forward and kissed the corner of his lips. Definitely a trouble magnet. But my trouble magnet, Momo said. Izuku blushed and returned the favor with a kiss of his own. And then Momo returned that one. And then Izuku returned the next. We should probably get ready to go to the police station. Momo kissed him again, they can wait 5 minutes. Izuku kissed her again, 10. Momo put her arms around his neck and pressed their lips together, 20. Izuku wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her once more, an hour. Momo giggled and pushed Izuku down into the pillows, maybe even 2 hours. They closed the gap between their mouths and continued with their session from last night. Izuku didn't know what it felt like to be addicted to drugs, but kissing or touching Momo had to be a close second or probably even more addicting. He just couldn't get enough. He felt like he was on fire, but in a good way. A nice, amazing, euphoric way. Just for a second, he opened his eyes to see Momo's closed as they kissed. Her hair fell around them, creating a black curtain giving them privacy during their intimate moments. Momo's eyes opened to meet his. As she looked at him, Momo had a sly look in her eyes. She began to nibble his lower lip again. Screw drugs. If she ever broke up with him, no amount of rehab would ever be able to fix his addiction. This sparked something in Izuku. Something he never thought he would ever feel with another human being. He rolled over so he was on top and began to nibble her lip this time. His arms wrapped tighter around her and he switched from her lip to her earlobe. Momo was surprised to say the least. This was new. Very new and very fast, but she definitely wasn't going to complain. Izuku then switched his kissing to pulse point on her neck. She let out a very tiny involuntary moan. Izuku's mind immediately focused on that moan. It was small and hardly even audible, but it was a moan nonetheless. And he caused it. He, Izuku Midoriya, managed to make a female, an utterly angelically gorgeous female that actually liked him no less, actually feel good. Bullies be damned. Should we go? Izuku and Momo both swung their heads towards the door to see the entirety of Class 1A, minus Bakugo, Kayauka, and Toru, awkwardly standing a few feet from the bed. Kaminari was at the head of the pack. The duo was frozen, too embarrassed at being caught in the act to move. Yeah, we'll go. Denki began to shepherd the class out of the room. All right people, visiting hours are postponed for now. These two are about to bone. We gotta move. Momo covered her face in shame, it wasn't like that. We weren't, it's too soon. Izuku slammed his face into the pillow as if he were an ostrich. The class awkwardly began to shuffle out of the room before they could all leave. Izuku spoke out, wait. Aoyama. The twinkling teenager turned around at his name being called. Yes, Monami? I just wanted to say that, without your help, I wouldn't have been able to save Momo or even get Spinner captured. Thank you. I can't ever repay you for what you did. Momo propped herself up on her elbows at this, he's right. Without you or Izuku, I would be off being tortured somewhere. If there's anything we can ever do, please tell us. Aoyama looked baffled, almost surprised by his thanks. Merci. No repayment is required. Merci mes amis. He walked out with a warm smile on his face and closed the door. Izuku and Momo had a feeling that Aoyama just considered what they just said as thanks enough. Izuku looked back down to Momo below him, sorry. I guess I didn't hear them come in. It's alright. I clearly didn't hear them either. So should we get ready? Momo smiled and grabbed onto the collar of Izuku's hospital robes. I thought we both agreed they could wait a couple of hours. Izuku blushed and smiled goofily as Momo dragged him back down. Like a couple of Catholic rabbits. As happy as Toshinori was for the two teenagers, they really needed to learn when and where was the right time to make out. Had to spray them down with water just to get their attention. I mean, I get it. They're hormonal teenagers who have been bottling those feelings for quite some time, and they want to release them. But, man, they do it a lot. Thankfully he had managed to pry them off of one another long enough to get them to the police station, and now Toshinori had just finished changing in Detective Tsukauchi's office and was ready to talk to Spinner. Well, poof, at least they're happy. Toshinori, now in buff form, took his leave and made his way down to the interrogation room where Tsukauchi, Izuku, Momo, and a couple of other officers were waiting. Through the two-sided mirror was Spinner locked down into a chair on one side of a table. "Ah. Good. You're both here. And luckily not sucking each other's faces off." Izuku just facepalmed, and Momo was embarrassed and shocked that All Might knew about that. "How do you know about that? Mr. Yagi jokingly warned me that I might walk in on you too." "Haha. Young love. Anyway, I think we should get this started. The faster we get this information, the faster we can get young Bakugo home safely." Tsukauchi stood up from his chair, agreed. "Alright you three, here's how it's gonna go. We'll start off with Midoriya and Yaoyorozu. All you two have to do is tell him the truth, and I'll handle the pressuring. If he doesn't crack, then we bring in you All Might. We want you as a plan B because if he sees you he might become overexcitable. Which also is a major problem with Plan C. Plan C could also turn out dangerous if something absolutely terrible happens." Momo turned to the detective. "What's Plan C?" Let's just hope we don't need Plan C. Are you two ready?" Izuku and Momo both looked at each other, both questioning whatever Plan C was. But they decided to trust the detective's judgment. They both nodded. "Okay then. Officer Amano, open the door." The officer opened up the door, and Tsukauchi walked in. "Spinner, we brought you some visitors today." He motioned to Izuku and Momo as they walked through the door. "Ah, finally. People I can respect. Don't think this will change anything," Spinner said from his chair. Izuku and Momo both took a seat across from Spinner. "Now, you know about their fight with the hero killer, but do you know about their encounter with your boss Shigaraki? I'm assuming you mean them all?" "Yeah, that's where he got his middle finger cut off by the girl. It's why she was on the capture list. He was going to torture her. I was against it, but I was outnumbered." Momo wasn't sure if she should thank him or not. Tsukauchi leaned forward towards Spinner. "Correct. But do you know exactly why she had to cut off his finger?" Spinner squinted at the detective, unsure of where he was going with the conversation. "I can't say I do." "Interesting. Yaoyorozu, would you like to explain?" Momo perked up and nodded. "I cut off Shigaraki's finger when I saw he was holding Izuku captive. He was holding a hand to his throat, and any other attack might have caused Shigaraki to instinctually close his hand around Izuku's neck. So I felt it necessary to stop it by any means necessary." "Thank you Yaoyorozu. Did you hear that? He was holding Midoriya hostage. Did Shigaraki mention that to you?" Spinner cocked his head to the side and squinted. No, he didn't. But it is really that important? We're villains. It's what we do." Tsukauchi shrugged. "True. Very true. But don't you wonder why he went specifically after Midoriya, the first responder to the attack on the other student and native? The one that Stain saved from one of Shigaraki's own creatures." Spinner was taken aback by that. He had never actually thought about it. Stain had killed one of the Nomu. Sure, it was to save Midoriya, a true hero. But he didn't need to kill it. And on the news, Stain was nowhere near the locations the Nomus attacked. They were found in some random alley multiple city blocks away. Shouldn't he have been a part of the attack? He worked with the League. Perhaps you could elaborate, Midoriya? Izuku heard his cue and started. "Shigaraki came to ask me a question. He asked me why all of Stain's actions were being spotlighted by the media while he was being ignored. I thought he was working with Stain, like you and everyone else. But he said that it wasn't true, and he actually hated Stain." Spinner's eyes went wide, but they went back to a sneer. "You're lying. You're just saying that to make me talk. What would Shigaraki gain from lying to a bunch of killers? Sounds dangerous to me." Tsukauchi shrugged again. "New followers, bigger reputation, more media spotlight, higher fear factor. Should I continue?" "No. I don't believe you. And lying isn't very heroic. Maybe you two aren't as heroic as once thought." Tsukauchi leaned back and knocked on the two-sided mirror. "Well, we actually have someone here to vouch for them." The door opened and All Might squeezed his way through. The face Spinner was making gave everyone reason to believe that he needed a change of pants. "All Might, I am here to help with this interrogation." "Mr. Spinner, was it? I can assure you that these two are as honest as they come. Young Yaoyorozu here is the vice president of her class. Representing the best of heroic behavior is her specialty. And young Midoriya was elected the class president, but he voluntarily stepped down to give someone else the position. Sounds pretty heroic to me." All Might leaned down so he was inches away from a wide-eyed Spinner. Take it from me, All Might. The epitome of honesty and justice. Shigaraki has betrayed you. Please, tell us where he is so we can put him where he belongs. Tsukauchi got just as close to Spinner as All Might. Come on, think about it. Has Shigaraki ever even mentioned Stain? Has he even given any thought to breaking him out of prison? Has Shigaraki shown any sign of agreeing with Stain's ideals? In fact, according to our reports, you were kidnapping Bakugo to try and recruit him. Wouldn't taking in a hero in training and turning him evil make him a fake like Stain preaches about? Isn't it against your code to not kill and breed more fake heroes? Spinner was now sweating profusely. He was trying to keep his mouth shut. He was still denying it and didn't want to believe any of this. If he did, then that means everything he's done has been against Stain's will. He would have failed him. Tsukauchi realized that Spinner wasn't talking after a minute or two. He sighed and looked back into the mirror. All right. Bring him in. All guns trained on him at all times. Izuku and Momo heard more footsteps enter the other room. The door opened and rolled in on a restraint board was Stain himself. He was constricted in a straitjacket and multiple chains and metal quirk suppressant bars. 10 guards came in and took their places along the perimeter of the room. If they thought Spinner needed new pants before, now he couldn't ever wear pants again. Ah. Oh my god, Stain. It's an absolute honor to meet you. I've followed your ideals to the letter ever since. Shut up. You're being too loud. Spinner immediately quieted down. Yes, sir. He might have been quieter, but it was obvious he was trembling with excitement in his seat. Stain looked over to All Might, Izuku, and Momo. He smiled under his plastic mouth cover. Ah. All Might. The day has finally come to. You're not here for me. You're here for your number one fan over there. Toshinori said, gesturing to Spinner. You have something you need to tell him. What is this? One of those sick kid celebrity hospital visits? Just answer the question. Did you or did you not work for the League of Villains? Those fools? Of course not. That brat in charge had no purpose. He just did what he did purely just because. I wanted nothing to do with them. That was the final straw. Spinner could no longer deny the truth. Stain himself had said it, and Stain was no liar. He had been lied to. Tsukauchi put his hands together and calmly asked Spinner once more. So Spinner, are you ready to answer our question? Yokohama. Camino Ward, Yokohama. There's an abandoned bar down the road from the main shopping district. That's where the boy is being kept. As for the pro, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's the hangar. We were given a Nomu to aid us during the camp attack. We had to go to some abandoned hangar to pick one. It's like one big lab full of them, just a few more blocks downtown. But something was wrong with that place. Most of it was completely closed off. It felt like we were being watched the entire time. Random TV. Screens would be on with nothing but static. Wires and tubes and old IV. Bags were everywhere. Something is definitely wrong there. Tsukauchi hurriedly wrote that all down and handed it to one of the officers. Get that to the chief now. We need every hero in the area and all others that are available. Anyone in the top 10 that you can. We need every SWAT team on this job. Go. The officer hurried off with the instructions. Thank you, Spinner. You might have just saved some lives. As a reward, meet your new cellmate. Tsukauchi pointed to Stain. Wait, what? Wait, hold on, I didn't agree to this. Stain tried to intervene, but Tsukauchi had already left the room. Izuku, Momo, and All Might went after him. The detective was jogging down the hall, eager to start the rescue. All Might stopped his students. You two need to head back to the hospital and gather the rest of your things. Head home and rest up. Young Bakugo will be just fine, I promise. Izuku tried to interject, young Midoriya, it's okay. We'll make it back. With that, he chased after his detective friend. Izuku still felt uneasy. Something was wrong. He didn't know what, but something just felt off. As soon as the hangar was brought up, his stomach felt funny. For some reason, his body wanted nothing to do with it. And Bakugo? How long would it take for them to gather the pros? Bakugo had already been there for nearly 2 days. Izuku knew Bakugo wouldn't turn. Soon they would realize he was a lost cause, and then. So you have to save everyone that you can. Oh no. Izuku looked over to Momo at her words. What? Izuku, I know that look in your eyes. You're going, aren't you? I turned away from him. I looked him dead in the eyes and didn't save him. I could reach him, but I chose not to. I know I can't save everyone. But I have to save everyone that I can. Everyone I can reach. And now, I can. I can reach him. I have to do something. Preparing the rescue will take until nightfall, and that's being very generous. Not to mention they have to travel to Kamino Ward. Bakugo won't turn, and once they realize he's a lost cause they'll kill him. We don't have any time to waste. He's on a timer. We have to beat the clock. Momo knew he wasn't backing down. Either he was going with help or he was going alone. Those were the only options her was going to give her, and she couldn't bear the thought of something happening to him if she wasn't there. And as rocky as her relationship was with Bakugo, he was still a classmate. She may hate him, but a life was on the line. Grudges took a back seat for this matter. Besides, she said she'd break the rules for him. We'll need more than just the two of us. I don't want to drag anyone down with the ship, but we won't be enough. You're okay with this? No. But what choice do we have? Also, we can't get caught. Not just by the villains, but the heroes and police as well. We need to get Bakugo and get out. If we get caught fighting unlicensed again, it's essentially over. Yeah. You're right. And I already have some people in mind that I know will help. Momo rubbed her temples. This is crazy. Absolutely insane. But I guess that's what I signed on for. Signed on for what? Loving you. We have to hurry if we want to get a train before dark. She grabbed Izuku's hand, and they both ran to the exit. Izuku was already dialing the number of the manliest guy in class. This is Inko Midoriya. I'm sorry, but I can't answer the phone at the moment. Please leave a message and I'll call you back as soon as I can. Thank you. Inko, it's Tashi. I know you left your phone back at your place when we rushed to see young Midoriya in the hospital. That's why I called now. I'm not sure how I would even make this call if it was in real time. I just wanted to call and say that I'm going out of town for the night. I'll be back tomorrow. No. I can't promise that. I'm going off to help rescue young Bakugo. I have every intention to make it back, but there's something about this mission that's far more than just a rescue. And due to that, no amount of determination can guarantee I'll survive. I don't have time to explain everything, young Midoriya will have to fill in all the gaps. And you might be wondering why I'm even going in the first place. Well, Toshinori took a deep breath. I am All Might. I know that makes no sense, but it will eventually. I need to go rescue young Bakugo and stop someone that puts you and Midoriya's life in terrible danger. That person has a high chance of killing me, which I of course will do everything in my power to stop. But I can't make any promises. So I just wanted to say. I love you. That was the first time either of them had said it. I know it's only been a few months since we met. But these last 3 months have been the best of my entire life. Not to mention the entire year I've had with your son. I knew that whoever was responsible for such an amazing young man, I had to love. And so I did. You both have changed my life greatly. I've never had much family throughout my life, and I've lost most of them. But with young Mizuku, I've gotten a taste at what it's like to have a son. And with you I've experienced a feeling that I've never felt before. Which is love, I mean. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. Toshinori felt the engine to the police van he was in the back of turn off. They had arrived. I have to go. I'm at the location where we'll rescue Bakugo. I know that was a lot, but I hope in time you'll understand. And forgive me for not telling you sooner or in person. Tell Izuku I'm proud of him. I've left my own words for him in a letter. And I've left most of everything I own to you too. By the way, if I don't come back a short grumpy man will probably stop by. And if I do come back, disregard this message. Goodbye Inko. And thank you for everything. Toshinori put down his phone and leaned his head back against the wall of the van. You ready All Might? Tsukauchi asked from the outside. No. Toshinori whispered to himself. Toshinori buffed up and opened up the van door. Is everyone in position? Yeah. We're just waiting on you. Endeavor's waiting outside the building. Gran Torino, Kamui Woods and Edgeshot are waiting on the roof for you. They'll breach on your word. I and the rest of the SWAT team will surround the perimeter. And are you sure you don't want to be on the hangar team? With what Spinner said. It's likely he's there. No. He'll have to wait. Young Bakugo is the top priority. He's only a boy, and he's my student. I can't let him get hurt. If I chose my personal matters over him, I'd never be able to live with myself. Tsukauchi nodded and turned to another officer. All right. Sergeant. What can you see? Sergeant Aoi's quirk was Heat's signature, and he was looking at the building up and down. Sir? We have a problem. What do you mean? Tsukauchi asked with worry rising ever higher. As far as I can tell. There's no one in the building. Tsukauchi and All Might both looked at each other in confusion and panic. Toshinori immediately leapt to the second floor and punched through the wall. The dust cleared for Toshinori to find an empty bar. But there was more. There seemed to be a struggle. Chairs and bottles were either on the floor or smashed. The ventilation grate above the bar was gone, and there was a hole in the ceiling. A pile of half-melted ice was behind the bar. But no Bakugo or villains in sight. Toshinori looked down to the ground at Tsukauchi and nodded, confirming Aoi's observation. Tsukauchi looked completely confused. Breach and search the building. All of the SWAT teams bust down doors, crashed through the windows, even the heroes infiltrated and began to search. But not a soul was found. Toshinori didn't understand. This was the only bar that matched Spinner's description. They couldn't have gotten it wrong, right? And who was here before? There are clear signs of struggle and break-in. Did someone get here before they did? If so, then who? Toshinori looked over to Edgeshot. He was shakily reaching down to something he had found under all the broken wood. Edgeshot? What did you find? The shinobi slowly turned around with white eyes staring down at the items in his hands. Toshinori's jaw dropped when he saw it as well. It was Momo's sword, Fushigiri. Or, at least a replica. Edgeshot could see it looked far newer and less scuffed than the original, and Momo could easily make replicas. There was no one else who could know how this sword looks with such accurate detail. She was the only person he showed it to. She had been here. Toshinori recognized the sword and who it most likely belonged to. And he also knew that if she was here, then a certain green-haired teenager would be right with her. Edgeshot slid the sword in his belt, acting like it was his. He knew it was wrong to hide evidence, but he couldn't let her get in trouble again. But they couldn't have done all this by themselves. The ice must be Todoroki's, and Toshinori was certain the three of them weren't the only ones. Of course young Midoriya would come here. What was I thinking? But were they successful? Did they get Bakugo and leave? Or captured? Tsukauchi, come in. Tsukauchi. All eyes turned to look at Tsukauchi. All Might and Edgeshot looked to the ground to see the detective hurriedly grabbing his walkie-talkie. Hangar team, come in. What's wrong? All the heroes are down. Someone's blown through the entire factory and took them down. He's blown through a few city blocks too. The hostages are down there. Get every police, evac, and medical unit here immediately. Hold on. Who did all this? And did you say hostages? As in more than one? It's a man in a black suit and mask. I can't tell what his quirk is. It looks like multiple. Toshinori's heart stopped. The Bakugo kid is there, but there's someone else. Slicked back hair and a goatee. Toshinori's heart somewhat eased. His hair is green and black. And then immediately skyrocketed to an unhealthy speed. Without waiting for anyone, All Might shot into the sky in the direction of the hangar. Tsukauchi was rushing towards his car to follow him, but before he could reach it, a swirl of black liquid emerged before him. More and more of the same liquids began to appear before their eyes. And no moves emerged from them. Tsukauchi had only one question. What the hell is going on? Musatafu. 4 hours earlier. 3:47 p.m. I'm in. Momo and Izuku's eyes both widened in shock at Kirishima's voice over the phone. Well, that was easy. Both said simultaneously. When do we leave? Meet us at the train station in an hour. We'll be there soon after with everyone we can get. Momo explained. Alright, I'll see you then. And thanks guys. I know you guys don't get along with Bakugo, but it means a lot to me that you are going to save him and that you invited me. I'll be there. The couple looked at one another and just shrugged. Well, one down. Momo looked up at the door in front of them. Whoever else, we can get more to go. She raised her hand up to ring the doorbell, but the door slid open before she could. The next thing they knew, they were face to face with Endeavor, clad in his hero costume. It's you two. I have no time for this. Shoto's inside. He marched past them and entered an awaiting car out on the road and drove off. Sorry about him. The two turned back around to see Shoto at the front door. I'd say he's usually not like that, but you know. He just got called in about whereabouts of Bakugo, so he's in a rush. What are you doing here? Izuku stepped forward. Actually, that's exactly what we're here about. We were going to go save Bakugo. We know that sounds crazy, but the heroes might take too long, and I just need to make up for. Todoroki closed the sliding door behind him, already bending down to tie his shoes. So where are we headed? Momo looked down and muttered to herself, this has been far easier than expected. Izuku was just as confused, but why are you so eager to go? Todoroki finished tying his shoes and stood back up. Bakugo was my partner during the trial, and when he was captured, I couldn't even catch up to you guys. I failed him. It's like when we fart stain. I'm not just going to wait and let the pros save someone hours later when it's too late, when I can save someone right now. Once again, Todoroki related to Izuku more than he'd probably know for a long time. Izuku smiled, alright then, you can help us with recruitment. Then we need to meet Kirishima at the station. Shoto? Are you going somewhere? Todoroki's sister Fayumi emerged from the house with her eyebrow raised. Yeah. I'll be gone for a while. Not sure when I'll be back. Todoroki explained to her. Izuku squinted at Fayumi in question. Hey, were you the one in the car with Todoroki when he was spying on me? Fayumi began to sweat. Oh no, of course not. Why would I spy on you and that blonde guy? Momo raised her brow, he never mentioned a blonde man. What was that? Yes, coming dad. He just left. Fayumi awkwardly stared at them. And quickly slid the door shut. Momo and Izuku slowly looked over to Todoroki. Momo opened her mouth to question him. So, you spy my boyfriend? My personal matters are not your concern. Let's go. He walked away before they could question him further. Momo swiveled to Izuku. And? You know that he spies on you. And don't do anything about it? Momo, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have absolutely no idea what my life is anymore. A year ago I thought I had no quirk and was alone, and now I'm about to go save my former bully from villains while using a powerful quirk and a gorgeous girlfriend. At this point, I'm just going with the flow. Momo looked as if she wanted to question that, but decided to just take the compliment and move on. Fair enough. They turned around and caught up to Todoroki. They entered Momo's limo awaiting them, and Tsuji drove them off. So why did you guys come to my home? You could have just called. Todoroki whispered so that the driver wouldn't hear them through the closed cab window. Momo answered, well, you were on the way to our actual destination, so we decided to just stop by and call others instead. I see. Speaking of which, who else are we gonna tell about this? Izuku looked down at his feet. We really don't want to get any more people trouble. We're only going for the people who we know will want to help. Really, now it's just Uraraka. I want to ask Iida, but he won't approve. Momo raised her hand, I still don't fully approve either. I know the heroes should really be the ones to handle it, but I understand and see all of your points. She looked to Izuku. Besides, your hyper-heroic nature is rubbing off on me. I also feel like I can't just sit by and do nothing when we can do something. I had to watch him get taken right next to me, but here I am perfectly fine. And who knows what he has had to endure. I don't like him, but I can't let him die. And being a supportive girlfriend, of course. Momo exclaimed proudly with a hand on her chest, gesturing to herself. Todoroki pursed his lips and turned away whispering, I'm sure that's not the only thing of his rubbing off on you. What was that? Nothing? So where are we going? Todoroki redirected the conversation. Yue Izuku said. I need to pick something up before we go. Before we get there, I'll call Uraraka, he said, pulling out his phone. He pulled up her contact and pressed call. They heard the rings, and she picked up. Oh hey Deku. What's up? Hey Uraraka. You're on speakerphone with me, Momo, and Todoroki right now. There's something we want to ask you. It's going to be crazy, and you can obviously say no, but just hear us out. Uraraka was growing concerned, Okay. We're going to go save Bakugo. What? Momo, Todoroki, Kirishima, and I are going to go and save Bakugo. We know where he's at. We can't be sure they won't kill him, especially when they realize Bakugo won't be told what to do. The police and heroes might take too long to get there, and there are some other personal reasons as well. The other end was silent for a while. Yes. That is crazy. What if the pros will be there before they ever get there? We can sneak in and get Bakugo out without ever being Deku, that's unrealistic. The chances of not being caught are super low. And your quirks aren't exactly stealthy. Well, Yao Momo is an exception, but still. Bakugo won't even like being saved, and he definitely won't like it if it's you. Izuku rubbed the back of his head, I know. You're right. But we have to try. I can't just sit here. He was in my reach once and I turned away. I'm not letting it happen again. Like I said, you don't have to go. But we could really use your help. She was silent again for a minute. I'm sorry. I can't. I want to help you, but it's too risky. And I'm watching after Kayaka too. Momo interrupted, oh. Is she finally awake? I went to visit her, but the doctor said she would be out for a while. No, but I'm making sure she's okay while she's asleep. I'm sorry you guys. I won't tell anyone, I promise. I know there's no stopping you. Just please be careful. Please. We'll do our best. Midoriya tried to assure her. Ochako chuckled, I guess that's all I can ask for from you, Deku. Momo. Look after him. You too, Todoroki. Momo sighed, why do I feel like that's somehow going to be the most difficult thing we do tonight? Because it is, Todoroki said. Izuku looked up exasperated. Hey. Come on, yeah, you're right. Izuku sighed in defeat. Ochako laughed from the phone. Never change, Deku. Good luck, you guys. She ended the phone call after that. Izuku laid his head back against his seat and closed his eyes. Well. I guess it's just us. Izuku felt Momo intertwined their hands from the seat next to him. He looked over to see her with an apologetic look on her face. She was right though. The chances of actually pulling off a stealth mission are too low for comfort. Except you. You could out-sneak Hagakure. Todoroki chimed in. But she can't sneak in alone. We can try to stealth the mission, but we need a backup plan in case we do have to fight. Izuku looked out his window, which is why we're here. The trio looked out the window to see that they had just parked out front of UA. Todoroki was confused. UA? But it's closed down right now? Why are we here? Izuku looked back to Shoto while gripping the door handle, plan B. He got out of the car and began walking towards the front gate with Momo and Todoroki in tow. He entered his student ID and entered. They followed Izuku to the support course wing. Midoriya, I don't think this is the time for suit upgrades. Todoroki said, trust me, I'll need this one. And I have someone on the inside too. As they approached the support studio, they heard banging and clashing and the zapping of welding. Izuku knocked on the door and was immediately caught in an explosion coming from the studio. That was a big one this time. The smoke cleared for Momo and Shoto to see Izuku on the ground with hyper yet very tired-looking pink-haired girl on top of him. Oh. Hey Midoriya. When did you get here? Shoto looked over to Momo to find she was giving a glare that could burn through something so fast even his father's fire would run in fear. Momo hated it when she realized she was the jealous type back in Island with Melissa. She knew Izuku wouldn't ever do anything. She trusted him completely. It was just an uncontrollable clenching she got in her heart. But she had to admit that Izuku was handling such a shapely girl on top of him with almost ease. Wow. You actually remembered my name this time, Hatsum. Izuku said with a slight blush to his cheeks, completely avoiding looking down at Hatsum's tank top. Of course. I need to remember the name of my favorite client. You only have one piece of my gear and I'm already your favorite client? Yep. Besides, how could I forget these, Mei said, running her hands along his abs through his shirt. He grabbed her hands and lightly pushed her off. Ahem, Momo loudly cleared her throat. Mei looked up to the other two in the hall. Do I know you too? Izuku lightly pushed Mei off and stood up. This is my friend Todoroki and Momo, my girlfriend. I'm his girlfriend. The one who loves him, kisses him, touches him, and the only one who gets to do so. Momo interrupted with the same crazed twitching in her eye from Island. We battled against each other in the cavalry battle. Cool. Never heard of ya. Now. Mei turned back to Izuku. I'm assuming you're here for the Melissa Shield baby, right? Oh. Yeah. Well, follow me then. Momo was confused. So, this girl was running her hands all over Izuku, and yet she acted like it was a completely normal and sociable thing to do. She thought she would falter when Momo announced she was Izuku's girlfriend, but Mei did care one bit. As Mei walked into the smoke-filled studio, Momo walked over to Izuku. Was Shinnet flirting with you? Hatsum is an odd character. We met again when I came here to give them the blueprints to the full gauntlet. When she saw them and who they were made by, she immediately took them and began working on them. Apparently she even told Powerloader that I'm now her permanent client for all my gear. She may be overbearing at times, but she's a genius. The best inventor in the school, or even the country, no doubt. And the muscles? Todoroki asked. She may have also patted my body down when she saw me. Izuku avoided that memory by following Hatsum into the studio. She walked into a back room filled with special cases and containers on the walls. Mei entered a code on a keypad on the wall, and a thick silver ejected from the wall. She picked it up and carried it out into the workshop. I've been working non-stop on this baby. The trio could tell too. She had bags under her bloodshot eyes, and there were chocolate wrappers and water bottles everywhere. There's a slight issue. Melissa's shield was one smart cookie. This is far more complicated than expected, even with the blueprints. So they're not completely done. They're still in prototype phase. Izuku raised a brow. Wait a minute. Mei popped open the case. Yeah, that's another reason it's taking so long. I'm making two. She pulled out two wristbands that were nearly identical to the one from the island, except these were unpainted so they were white. They can form into the gauntlet, but there are components still missing. I still need more liquid titanium tri-weave and impact compensation padding. Not to mention the kinetic energy absorption plates. But right now they could probably handle half of your full power. Izuku nodded. 50% would have to do. I also have tons of other ideas for these babies, so they might not be fully ready for a while. I'll work again on these tomorrow. I need to quickly get baby number 198 finished. Just as Mei was about to close the case, Izuku stopped her. Actually. Hatsune. Could I please borrow them for the day? Like a test drive? I don't know. I don't think there are any rules against test drives by students. But I also don't think it's ever been done. Usually the tests are done by the teachers. Momo interjected. Don't you have to test the equipment to see if it works with the student's quirk? Wouldn't you have to use the student to test it? Well, I should specify that by when they don't allow student testing, I mean they don't allow student testing on inventions made by me specifically. Too many explosions. Izuku walked closer to Hatsune. Please Hatsune. I'll have them back before Power Loader even comes back. I'm sure he's busy with everything going on, so this should be the least of his worries anyway if he did find out. Which he won't. They'll be right back in this case, first thing in the morning. You know what? What the heck? Anything for my favorite client. Just don't break him. I won't. I promise. I'll stay below 50% at all times just to make sure. Thank you. Now you should get some sleep. You look exhausted. Mei began to walk off towards another workstation. Nah, I'm fine. I'll sleep when. The inventor collapsed to the floor, snoring loudly. Izuku looked around the room to see multiple small puddles across the room, which he assumed was drool. So she had probably done this multiple times already. Momo created a blanket and laid it over her. She's definitely a character, but you're right. She's definitely a genius if she's made all of that. Momo's gestured to a corner full of gadgets. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. Izuku pulled out the full gauntlet prototypes and put them on his wrists. Okay, it's almost time for us to meet Kirishima. We should go. The other two nodded, and they all walked out. Momo whispered to Izuku. You handled another pretty girl on you fairly well. Well, I've already gotten really close to the most beautiful thing alive. So other girls are getting a lot easier to handle. Momo's heart clenched with flattery. She didn't care if it was a little cheesy. He was perfect. She kissed his cheek and intertwined their hands again. Todoroki started to feel like the third wheel. That is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. And please comment down below what you guys want to see next. I'll see you in the next video.